Hi, it's Friday. I know that because that's what the calendar said this morning. I looked at it and it must be Friday because I'm here working on this model. You'd think it would go the other way, that I'd be working on the model because it's Friday, but that's probably true. Um, but yeah, I need to babble a little bit at the beginning just to sort of set the tone for what happens here, which is that I'm an old guy working on a model, and it's very slowly happening. And today, an unusual thing is going to happen. An unusual thing is going to happen in that it will be a fair amount of painting. Um, it's going to be really very pretty much uninteresting painting because all of these little parts that go onto the engine, they go onto the engine or around the engine are painted light gray. So it's just one color. It's almost exactly the same color as the primed plastic. So it's going to be hard to see it. Um, I've done when I've used this before on these parts in this box that you can't see that I'll show you in a little bit. You'll be able to see it when I show it to you. You can't see it now because it's off screen. But when I put it on screen, if I remember to do that, you'll see that it's a pretty bland color. In fact, here's a sample of it. It's that. It's just gray. So I'll be painting a lot of gray here today. Um, the other thing I might do is I tested this light gray wash, gray on gray, right? It darkens it a little bit. You can see that. But I think it will add some, uh, it'll highlight the detail, I think, on the engine. So if things are going okay, I might do that on. This is the done box, right? I might get the light gray washout and test it on all of this very bland looking, my hand in the way, bland looking gray stuff, just to see if it enlivens it a little bit. I'm not sure if I'll do it on the top. Maybe I'll do some along the top here. That gets a little harder. I'm going to start on the back because that part's least likely to show. This whole engine ends up getting covered up in the pylon of the plane when it's assembled. But it's a good test because I'm going to build one of these for display next to the model. And that'll be so that all of this isn't wasted. The other thing is that I've got these parts here. I think those, from what I can see, those are fuel injection lines. Okay? And there's 6 on each side, and they're supposed to attach. Each of these little points there are supposed to attach to some holes, indentations up here that are very hard to see. There's little indentations up here in the dark black metallic, and they're kind of rubbery. So I can understand why they're done in rubber and not the plastic, but somehow each of these little points is supposed to attach, like that point is supposed to attach in that opening. And then somehow or other, the next one is supposed to attach in the next opening and so on. And I don't know how to do that. So I'm not going to try that today. But I'm going to take these parts, which I've already bounced today. I've knocked it off this thing it was sitting on. It was sitting on this. I've knocked it off. Fortunately, I have it inside a box, like this box, just like that. So when I bumped it off, it landed inside the box and didn't get lost. And I've learned by losing things through the process of losing things. I've learned to do things inside of boxes, even if it's a little bit awkward to do it, because then parts are less likely, not impossible, possible, but are less likely to get lost. I can put that up there. I might need this to hold on to parts as they're drying. I'm not sure. And then these bits I can take off with the clothespins. These bits on Wednesday, I put them together, but I need to sand them, make sure that the seams don't show. They kind of do. Okay. And then after I sand them, make sure the seams don't show, they get attached to each other. Like this. Okay, that's a weird. That just couldn't happen. I mean, the parts are lined up, they're attached, and then they don't fit. There is a protrusion of plastic here. It should be impossible. It should actually be impossible for that to happen. No, they go like that. I see what's happening. When the front gets lined up, okay, when the front gets lined up, the little pin doesn't, they don't match on the inside. They match on the outside like that. Okay. But they don't match up on the inside. And that may or may not be a problem. I mean, there wasn't any other way to put these parts together. Not if they were going to line up here, they had to line up there. And they don't line up on the bottom. So the reason that might be a problem, even though the inside is not going to show, okay, the inside isn't going to show because the engine's going to sit in on it, is that there is a photo etched part that needs to go on the front of this, okay? And if these are bigger than they should be, okay, that is to say, that gap, which is actually pretty significant, it's like 1/8 of an inch. If this is too big from side to side, then the photo etched part isn't going to cover it. That was unexpected. When I test fit these, I didn't see that that was an issue, but it definitely is. I'm thinking, oh, I see what happened. Okay. I see what happened. This is now a problem. Um, okay, so they're lined up on the top here. But what was supposed to happen is this was supposed to slide out. Yeah, yeah. I see it happened on both sides. Is that this bit here, this was supposed to be in alignment there. And so if that happened, the top may or may not have been in alignment, but it's kind of like it should have been just rotated ever so slightly when it was attached there. There is a possibility that I could detach that and attempt to reposition it. But before I do something that radical, I need to get, I'm going to have to at some point get the photo etched part off of that sprue and test it to see if it covers it correctly on the front. Okay. So the problem is not the outside. The outside is the outside. I'm glad this is like the test engine and it's going to get covered up later because it is. It's just I'm just testing all of this to see how it works. This is actually a little bit kind of the same in the back here. That I've got it lined up pretty correctly on the top here, but no, I probably shouldn't have clipped this because this is up a little high. Okay, that's not quite. This one is lined up. This one isn't, and that should have slid down a little bit. So I'm gonna have to make sure that when I do this again, that these bits line up with each other because they don't. So positioning is going to be a bit of a challenge, and holding this in position so that it is like that. I'm not going to be able to clip it to do that. Well, okay. So I was paying attention to one part of the model and not the other in it, and things are not lined up, and I'm not going to be able to get to that until later today. Then I guess there's always something. So I'm actually glad I saw that I've got you know it's this part, and the engine sits on top of it. Okay, on top of this where the gap is, and so the gap isn't going to show on the inside. That isn't going to be the problem. Okay, the problem is whether this thing here fits correctly. It's like a screen, a debris filter. Well, that was disappointing. Okay, these all need to be painted gray. Most of these need to be painted on both sides. The gray paint has, in the past, when I've used it on the other engine parts, needed 2 coats. I'm turning all of these over so I can paint what is essentially the backs of the parts first, and then after that dries, either the first or the second coat. If it needs 2 coats, it'll get 2 coats. Okay, and I'll turn them over and paint the other side, and I'm going to leave them on the tape, at least for now, because there isn't any way to hold them. Like this whole thing needs to be painted. Where would I hold it? This whole thing needs to be painted, and theoretically, oh my, okay, yeah, I'm seeing that. The what I'm seeing is now that it's primed, I can see that there's that, that kind of thin, that thin bit of plastic that comes with the molding seam. Where it wasn't clear, but it's distorting the insides of these openings. I probably should have done this before I primed it, but I didn't. Yeah, it's good. So I could, in theory, grab some alligator clips like this. And so a part like this, flip it right right on that tiny little pin and then paint it. And I guess maybe I'll do that. We'll see how much of these I can actually do that way. Many of these. This I can't. This I can't. These maybe, but I think they'll be easier just to paint them flat like this. These on the other hand might this might work this way. And I can paint both sides at the same time. A nice soft brush and I'm gentle with it. This how this will work. Thinking if I put a pin on, if I grab this with the pin, uh, yes, I could. Oh, what's that all about? Now it's a question of whether I can get them all to sit on here. Hmm. It's starting to look pretty weird, doesn't it? All those things piled up there. Rotating them so that places for these to go. So those two bits, there isn't any place to grab onto. What about these? Mm-hmm. Smaller piece of cardboard. See these have it inside here. Yeah. Huh, look, that worked. This doesn't this doesn't have a place to grab. I'm going to have to do something else with that. This on the top. These I'm just going to put on. I'm going to put on the tape. Okay. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to take most of this tape off so that I can yeah. So I can knock that box over and lose the part that's inside it. That is a thing that almost happened. Well, I had numbers. I lost the numbers. It's going to be, these are pretty obvious which one goes where. Yeah, I should be able to get them on the right sides without having to remember what the numbers were. I'm just doing the setup here, doing the setting up of the painting because I'm going to do painting today. So this will take two sides. These I can do all the sides at once, and then the two coats will happen more quickly. Okay. There are no openings left. No, it's too small. No, limited by reality there. Foiled by reality. I'll get around to it. Um, really, I will get around to painting. It will happen. I'm just doing I'm just setting things up so I can actually get the painting done by putting these pieces in places where I can actually get paint on them. That bit, this bit's going to be a challenge. There's no there's no pin on it to grab it. There's no opening. Oh, there is. Okay, maybe I can do it that way. Um, Bumping into that. A little opening on the bottom. If I can get a toothpick in it, you know, toothpick that's just the right diameter to hold it. The point of it was too small. It didn't hold. I made it too big and it won't go in the hole. But a whole lot of lack of success here. What I'm attempting to do is get the toothpick in this hole, okay, so that it's fairly tight in the hole. It holds on to it. Reliably, okay, has to be reliable. So once again, something that should have taken no time at all is just taking a lot of time. What did I do? Make it too small? Of course. Okay. Well, I've got I need a place to put this. So I'm just going to put this on the cardboard and paint it that way. So I can clip this and put it in here because there isn't any other place to put it. Okay. Well, there. That's my paint set up. Okay. I'm going to do these first. Okay. Especially this one and this one because I need to turn them over. And if I have to do two coats, I want to be able to get that done if it's at all possible to do that today. This is the gray paint. It needs a good deal of mixing. And I just covered up my brushes. That was clever. I want a fairly broad bristled but very soft brush, kind of a fat brush. I'll use this one. Just, I want it. Yeah, that'll do. Need to, paint these surfaces so that There aren't too many brush marks. Like that. This one I should probably use an even bigger brush. Let's use this one. This is a pretty good brush for this kind of thing. Always a pretty good brush for almost all of this. Okay, well, there's brushes. So none of this is real detail work today, this painting stuff. This isn't going to be detailed, but that's not good. But I need to make sure that the surfaces are all covered, okay? Evenly covered without a lot of streakiness. Um, and it might, like I said, it might need 2 coats, in which case I want to get this paint on, now, so that if it needs 2 coats, I have time in the stream to get to it. I don't know why I'm in a hurry, but, there's that. And then I need to go back to that air intake kind of thing that looks like it's messed up. Let me get the photo etched part out and do a bunch of test fitting. Maybe I'll get to that today. I'm not sure. So whatever I don't get to today, I'm not going to work on next week because I'm going to be gone next week. So yeah, I'll be gone next week, and then I'll be back the week after next. I'll be back on the 20th, but I will not be streaming on the 13th, 15th, and 17th. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday next week. No stream because I will not be here. And since I won't be here, I will not be able to do the stream. Ta-da. This is pretty good paint. Um, I think it's finally getting mixed enough. It's obviously been sitting on a shelf for quite some time. It's where I purchased it. After being mixed now for 5 or 6 times, it seems to be less streaky. It was definitely streaky, very streaky when I first used it. It's surprisingly difficult to paint. Kind of little bits that end up not being painted. Bits. Make sure that I got the paint on them. I want to get this long brush strokes as much as I can so that the paint is even on it. It's the kind of thing that will need two coats on the sides here. Texture there. This really isn't the best way to be painting this. I ran out of alligator clip holder spots. Um, I'm going to use this large brush. Kind of ends up wasting paint, but this big piece here. So definitely need two coats. This paint was made for airbrushes, and so it's kind of thin. It covers nicely, but it takes two coats to do it. This will need two coats, and then I'll need to turn it over and do two coats on the other side. So I was watching a Bob Ross thing about a month ago. Yeah, I've mentioned this before. I don't know how he manages to get his brushes clean. Okay, because even though this is an acrylic paint and it just is water washable, it still sometimes doesn't come really clean in the water. And he's got these big brushes full of oils, and he's got a bucket of something next to him, and he makes this swishing sound. He goes with his brush and just slaps it. Doesn't even wipe it off, just slaps it against something, and somehow it's clean. So I don't know. He must be using some hideous solvent, and it's probably killing him. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I'm just not sure. I'll do the ones in the middle first. I thought that through just in time. Ones on the outside and then have to reach over them to get to the middle. That would have been not good. So I can kind of guarantee that, as well as I can see them right now under this light with no magnification, that this is all going to look pretty good. But that if I looked at them with my head magnifiers, 2x magnification, it would not look good. So once again, I will just keep repeating this over and over. If you're building models at the skill level I build them at, with much on the 1 to 3 skill level. I've actually seen a skill level 4 model. I can't remember what it was, but I do remember, all the models nowadays, they didn't use stuff. But nowadays, if you buy a plastic model or any of that, any other kind of model, there's a skill level. And it's almost always from 1 to 3. Skill level 1 is if you're 5 or 6 years old, it's like a snap tight kind of thing. There's no painting, there's no glue. You can just break the parts off the sprue. That's not going to matter. Okay, snap them together, and then you've got a model, and you go, "Oh, that was cool. You did that, you know, an hour or something." And then skill level 3 is you really know what you're doing and you're good at it. Squeezed out way too much paint. Yeah, wasting paint. That is a feature of model building. But I actually did see a box once that said skill level 4. I think that was pretty much don't even try. I think that's what it was trying to say is, if you try to do this, unless you're a professional model builder, you're going to fail. I think that's what it was attempting to tell me. I did not buy that model. I think almost most of the ones I work on, I think, are skill level 2 kind of things. My personal skill level, I just based on what has been successful and what hasn't in terms of what I've been doing, is I'm going to say about a 1.7. Okay, I probably I probably would be quite successful at a snap tight. It would come out about as good as you would expect a snap tight model to come out. I have been doing, I think, almost always in the B range, sometimes B pluses, occasionally an A or an A minus, and even a full A. Sometimes even that on the skill level 2 models I've been building, like the Savoya S21. I think I hit a solid A minus on that in terms of the quality of the build. Yeah, these will definitely need a second coat. This is a really good color, like an authentic light gray, authentic airplane light gray color, just like the interior green that I haven't used yet, that I will be after I get back the week after next. It's an authentic color in terms of the paint maker worked really hard to assure that it was historically correct. Yeah, but I lost my train there, not my train of thought, but my train of narration. Yeah, so I'd say most of the time, I managed to land a skill level 1.7. If I attempted a skill level 3 model, I don't know. I should look at the box. I'm not sure what this is. I just assumed that it would be a skill level 2 because almost everything is. Anything that requires cement and painting bumps up to a skill level 2. I don't know if this one bumped up to a skill level 3 or not. They're kind of coarse, 1, 2, or 3. There's no 2.4 skill level, 2.4 kind of things or anything like that. It kind of makes sense if there was, but there isn't. this dries, it has a pretty nice matte finish to it as well. Should be using like longer, slower, more even brush strokes. Otherwise, I'm just kind of dabbing the paint on, which isn't really a good painting technique. Anybody who knows what they're doing with painting will probably tell you that unless you're just trying to poke it into a hole, that you should use a nice, slow, long, even brush strokes, which is what I've not been doing. I'm going to try to demonstrate that. Even if I can't really do it very well, at least I'm trying to do it properly. They also tell you always brush into the painted area like that to minimize the brush marks. Because if you go from the painted area, you are dipping the brush into a painted area, and you're going to leave a mark like that. Even if you're painting a house, they tell you to do it that way. It's like, okay, you're painting the second story of a house, and you're supposed to be worried about whether there's a brush mark or not. Really? But if you're a professional painter and you're taking it really seriously, yeah, you would always do it that way. Yeah. So this is going to be. They'll all need a second coat because there's a little bit of unevenness, streakiness in the where the pigment is going, and I might be missing some little spots as well. So I can get this back in without touching it. Oh my. Yeah, there. I was looking all around it, and I wasn't looking at the very top. It's a big spot that I completely missed. That happens on this stream. I don't know if it happens to anybody else, but for me, it's a frequent feature of my painting is that I will do my best to rotate it and make sure I'm getting all the surfaces, and then I'll think I'm finished, or maybe I am finished. And in that, I put the paint away and everything, and I'll look at it and go, nope, totally missed that. Okay, there's a lot of surface area on these little bits. All sorts of opportunities to miss spots here on the edges, on the insides of these things. Insides of these pipes. Yeah, I don't think the pop filter is on the microphone, so you probably can hear one of our dogs. one of our dogs thinks she's a watchdog, protects us from anybody who walks along the street near the house. No, not even getting close to the house, but just on the street. It's like how dare you come within my visual range? This is the side that shows. Okay, the pins on the attachment pins are on the other side. So this side is the side that should be more carefully painted. Not that I was careless. I think I was careful on the other side, but this side is the more important of the two sides. And I'm going to put a second coat on all these parts, um, just just to be sure. I should have time during the stream to do that. It takes, I don't know, maybe a half hour or so for it to paint to dry. And in case you're wondering, you can see the difference in color. There's gray paint on it. Paint on the alligator clip. The alligator clips are over time are accumulating, an interesting coating of lots of different colors of paint. A really good painter would not get paint on the alligator clip. A really good painter would get paint only where they wanted the paint and not where they don't. You can tell that I'm not a really good painter. I'm an adequate painter, but not a really good painter because I do get paint on places where I don't want it, like alligator clip. And not only that, I frequently get paint on my fingers, and usually I don't know how it got there. I think, when did that happen? Monday? I think it happened on Monday. I was doing some painting and I looked and I had paint on my thumb. It's like that thumb was not anywhere close to anything that was being painted. You know, it wasn't close to the jar. Well, that's what it was. I probably got it on there when I was closing the cap on the metallic paint, even though I was trying to be careful and using a paper towel. Um, it was a failure. Okay. Luckily, it landed unpainted surface down. One reason to do it over a box. Sometimes the alligator clip unclips catastrophically like that. Pop right off. And try not to put any pressure on. You don't have to put pressure on when you're putting paint on. Okay. Lay it on. We'll just lay it on the surface. Is how they instruction an instructor, a painting instructor. Just lay it on the surface. There are some circumstances when you like if you're doing a certain kind of canvas oil painting or something, I think where you kind of push it into the surface, or if you're using a special stain. But for the most part, the This should hardly know it's even being touched. Does that make sense? Yes, it kind of does. Well, that's supposed to not be closed. I've got a thing here where the paint has closed the hole. Why is that behaving like that? There, paint had gotten into the opening. Sometimes that will happen when you're doing a model and you got a little opening like that, is the thin film of paint will form over it. Okay. Now there's a lot of parts there that now have one coat. One coat of gray paint on them. Okay. Um, give these a few more minutes. Sit up straight a second here. What I'm going to do next is put a second coat of paint on these guys. Tank, oil tank, and whatever that is. Some sort of reservoir, I think, another an oil pan, I think. Put the second coat of that on that. And on these bits. And then I'll go back and second coat all of those. What I need to do though is I need to excavate the box of parts. I'm going to be off screen for a bit, muttering to myself about how far down this is. I can't get to it. This box contains small pieces. Some of which are photo etch parts. So this is I don't know what those are, but they look impossible. Photo etch parts. So I'm looking at these rubberized parts. Okay, there's supposed to be 4 of them, and I only have 2. there should be another one of these. I'm not seeing it in this box. Am I missing something important? I'm going to have to make a decision about that when the time comes. No, seriously. You know those rubberized parts I showed you where they're supposed to attach to the side of the engine? They were on here, okay, one on each side. But there's two engines. So there should be another one of these with those little stringy pipe-like things. But I don't see it. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm worried. I am actually worried about that. Well, if that's the case, I'm going to use those on the display engine, okay, and not on the one that's hidden, not on the one that ends up being hidden um, on the inside of the plane. Why is there always something? Okay, that's important. It's a piece of film that is for the instrument panel. So here are the photo etched parts. I need an 18. Yes, I need one of these. Oh, look at the, oh, seriously? These tiny little things are like hinges. Look at this. How can you even how can you get those off and not lose them, much less attach them somehow? That's just I don't know. I think that's really totally unreasonable. I think that that can be done. Okay, now I was told that the best way to cut off a photo etched part is not drop your box on the floor, is to use a cutting board or a piece of glass, something hard. I have one of those things. And an X-Acto knife. And then, like with the plastic parts, to leave a little bit of the attachment point, the screw on it. I've heard they make like these miniature, extremely tiny tin snips that are supposed to be able to do this. Yeah. Oh, don't snap that off. They also say be very careful handling it because the edges are very sharp. Yay. Okay, well, it's detached and it's not ruined. Put this back in here. I don't know why they're brass colored. I'm not really sure about that. But where are the other two of those rubbery pipe things? Okay, well that made a decision for me in terms of I'm glad I didn't try to attach those yet, because if I've only got one set of them instead of two sets, then I definitely need to put them on the display engine and not the one that's in the plane. Oh, great. Try and put it back in the box. I succeeded in not having a disaster there. I need, I think, a fairly coarse, but not too coarse. I'm not sure. Like I said, I've never used these before, so I don't know what grit I need to use to clean that part. Use this grit, whatever this is. This is the grit that is getting used. No, that doesn't do it. I need to use a file. No, the file is just going to catch it. 320. I have never used photo etched parts before. I've got these little files, but I don't trust them. They're too coarse and they're just going to catch it and break it instead of cleanly, hopefully cleanly, um, sanding it off. Well, this might take a while, but at least, here, you can watch, while I'm doing this, you can watch paint dry. I'm just cutting off a sliver of it like this. Where did my light go? What? What happened? Everything froze up. It says that it's still recording, but suddenly my monitor just totally froze. It went dark, and I don't know. It's weird. I don't know if it's still running. It went dark and froze up. Okay, what's going to happen now is I'm going to take a quick break. I don't know. I'm going to take a break. I don't know if it's going to be quick or not, but I'm going to take a break and get some tech support and find out what to do. See if this works. Okay, well, it got fixed. It turned out that it was a consequence of my clutter. I I set something down on something else, and uh, I put something on the keyboard. It's just I put it off to the side, and I didn't, and it just touched the keyboard in the absolutely wrong way, and it triggered a suspension of a part of the program. It froze what I was seeing. Everything else was working, but what I was seeing wasn't. Okay, well, this is eventually working. It worked on one. This one's pretty much cleaned up. I'm just sanding off the attachment points, and I'm trying to be really careful because haven't worked with photo etched parts before, and I don't want to mess them up. Cleaning this up because I think I might have messed up some parts that I cemented on Wednesday. The technical term for having messed up. Um, and I need to test fit this to see if I need to do some major repair work. I don't know, but I can't. I have to clean this, make sure it's cleaned up before I test fit it. So I apologize for the interruption. It's just, I wasn't, I guess I wasn't careful, careless enough to have triggered something that wasn't fatal. It was just, I just needed to get some assistance to get it working again. So as a reminder, I'm going to be gone next week. So I won't be streaming, so there won't be anything getting done on this model next week anyway. Not that it looks like much is getting done this week, does it? And it's pretty funny. How could a week off be much different than a week on? I'm going to put this now cleaned up part in with the parts that I might have messed up over there. And I'm going to come back to this and put a second coat of paint on stuff. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Is putting a second coat of paint, except for this one. I'm just going to turn this over. I had a brush full of paint. Fortunately, and I knew I bumped it into something, but what I bumped it into was the side of the cardboard box. There's a blob of paint there. Another technical term, spot of paint. There's paint where it shouldn't be. I have paint where it shouldn't be on the side of the box because That's what happened to the brush here. Okay, get this one. Second coating with this gray paint is just something that needs to be done. We just need to plan on it constantly. I bought it because it's an authentic light gray color. Okay. I mean, in that the manufacturer went out of their way to get the pigment color correct for its use in airplane models from World War II. But it does need two coats. So that's what I'm doing, is putting on a second coat. And then it just ends up looking much better. I have on some parts had to put on a third coat. I don't know if I'm going to need to do that with this or not. I'm guessing not. If it needs more paint, I have more paint, at least at the moment. Lift this up. I can actually see what I'm doing. Huh? What a thought. Use this big brush again. It just goes more quickly. Yeah, see, it looks suddenly it's gone from to looking okay. Hasn't helped clean up my work area though. Well, what I should do, this would make a difference, is I don't need this cutting board anymore. So if I were thinking about what I was doing, I would just take it, instead of putting it away, I'd put it over there. Hopefully not in. Okay, now I've got this thing here all full of parts that need second coats. Paint them in the order in which they were painted originally, because that's probably, you know, the order in which they were painted originally means that the ones I painted first are most likely to be dry. so that first coat actually does look pretty scabby. It's streaky. It's uneven and streaky, and then the second coat is put on, and it ends up looking adequate and not being careful. I bump it up against the cardboard. Oh, okay. I just remembered. I was worried about those little rubber pieces, the fuel injection lines. It's like, where did the other ones go? There's supposed to be four of them, and I think I know where it went. I need to I need to check to make sure, but I think I cut all four of them off of the equivalent of the screw, and put I put the other ones with the parts for the other engine. In which case, they're not missing, and my panic about them missing might be resolved, because then they're not missing. But I will find that out by looking in the box where those parts are to see if they're there. And if they are, then I'll go, oh, I can breathe a sigh of relief. And then I'll breathe a sigh of relief. I'll do that. I'll go, ah, that's a sigh of relief. In that the things that I thought were missing wouldn't be missing. So there's different kinds of sighs. There's a sigh of sorrow. There's a sigh of exasperation. There's a sigh of relief. Sigh. That's a weird word, actually. But most words are weird if you say them. If you say a word like two or three or four times in a row, just say the word out of context of anything. It just sounds like nonsensical noise, nonsensical sounds. When that so, since I've been saying sigh so many times, it's just like, oh, that's just a weird kind of just a weird kind of sound, not necessarily meaningful. And so, what kind of sigh would that call for? A sigh of, huh? I don't know. So, I've made New Year's resolutions 2 years in a row now. Usually, I don't do those. Okay? Why? And last year, I had two New Year's resolutions. One was to keep my work area clean and clear. I have failed at that. And the other was there was a word that I kept saying all the time, and I just wanted to stop saying that word because it was just repetitive. And I failed at the work surface keep being kept clear. You know that. But I succeeded. I'd say I succeeded really quite well. An A plus success at not saying that word all the time like I kept saying it all the time. And this year, I had one identical resolution and a very similar resolution. That is to say, keep my work surface clear. Again, fail. I'm doing D minus on that. Maybe even a failure, maybe even an F. Like when the screen froze up, it was because I had the box that had the scissors in that I used to cut a piece of sandpaper for the photo etch part. And instead of reaching over and putting it away, I set it down on the keyboard, which triggered a sequence of keystrokes that froze the screen that I see. I probably could never, if I intended to do that, I'd never be able to, but I did manage to do that simply by not following the second repetition of my New Year's resolution. The other one was also I found that I was saying a word all the time and I wanted to stop saying it so frequently. And I've only I've only had like a B level success at that this year. I'm not going to say the word that I don't want to say because if I said the word that I didn't want to say, then I'd be saying the word, and that would be a failure of the resolution. But I caught myself several times saying the word that I don't want to say as often or as much as I had been saying it. Today I caught myself doing that, saying that word. I'm going to spend the rest of the stream here today attempting to you know live up to my New Year's resolution and not say the word that I've been trying to not say as much as I was saying it too much. I can predict with a high degree of certainty that if I were to make New Year's resolutions for 2027, that one of them would be keep my work area clear. I'm almost, I would say, in the mid to high 90% certain that that's going to be one of the New Year's resolutions for 2027. Whether there is a second one or not, I don't know. I don't I don't have another word that I'm trying not to say. If I continue to succeed in not saying the 2025 word and the 2026 word that I've been trying not to say, um, yeah, maybe I'll try to not say I'm going to start paying attention to whether I have excessive umming that needs to be curtailed or not. I could make a useful New Year's resolution, such as, oh, come up with interesting things to babble on about during your painting stream. That might be appreciated, but the odds of success of that, they would be higher than the odds of keeping the resolution of keeping my work surface clear. Okay. The odds of that being successful in 2027, the third year in a row, are as low as they have been for 25 and 26. But coming up with something interesting to talk about, because there isn't any music in the background. Maybe I can come up with a substitute for babbling. I wonder if I could do recordings of miscellaneous sounds. I could do, maybe I could get the, I don't know if these would be copyrighted or not. There's always, on these streaming things, there's always copyright infringement claims. They're usually bogus. Trying to, this bot's trying to scam money by making frivolous claims of copyright interference. So what I'm thinking is like sound effects, something such as sound effects, um, like bird calls, maybe. What if, what if instead of trying to, you know, talk and come up with meaningless kinds of monologue like this, I just, I played recordings of bird songs with that. It might be pleasant. It might be pleasant to listen to. If that, unless you really hate listening to birds. Some people might hate that. They might loathe bird songs. They go, oh, not bird songs. I can't stand bird songs. I'm never gonna pay it. Never gonna watch this stream again. You can just turn the sound off. You could mute the bird songs. Okay, I think this will be okay. This one, this one needs to dry, and then it needs to be turned over and then painted with two coats on the other side. Why is this not? It's not behaving here. The paint is probably just drying unevenly. Yeah, that's why this one looks streaky too. Probably. He says the paint is just drying unevenly. Okay, well, watch paint dry again. Turn it back around. There, there's paint drying. Um, Set this on top of that so that I can bump into it, knock it over. It's important. Yeah, reach across stuff, putting things. Sometimes that happens too. It says, "Oh, look at me! I'm putting something away," and while I'm doing it, I bump into something else. I'm going to set this up here, and I'm going to do the test fitting here because I think this got messed up in a way that's significantly messed up. I'm not sure. I need to find out because when I put these parts together, they didn't get, they aligned on the tops, but they didn't align on the bottoms, and as a result, they don't fit very well. They're not fitting well, and I don't know if I need to take them apart now or not. So this is supposed to, see how that is. This is supposed to sit on top of this. This doesn't sit on top of it at all, really. No, okay. I mean, it really is seriously messed up. But see how big, how rounded it is on the top, and how these are not rounded. What happened was, especially on the front here, not so much on the back, a little bit on the back, but not that much. A little bit on the back, but on the front, what has happened is that when I put these parts together, I was trying to get them on the top, but they need to be, this needs to be out so that it's more rounded on the top and not like that. So I am going to have to try to repair this. Um, there's not much of a contact here. I mean, back here is this big contact point. It was hard to mess that up because it's contacted all the way around and it's just off by a little bit. I can sand that, but here it's like at least a 16th of an inch. And what I need to do is detach this and see if I can slide it out, slide it this way, and reattach it. And I didn't know this when I was doing it. I just, it's kind of a retro, oh, mistake thing. But I need to loosen this here, and then maybe it'll break up here. I'm not sure. That wouldn't, I mean, the seam might break. Wow, that really welded nicely, didn't it? But yeah, it's a significant thing that I need to try to fix. It isn't, in the scheme of things, it's not horrible because, well, this is mostly, but not completely hidden when the model is put together. But there's always something, and this is a something I did not anticipate. Okay, well, it's detached. Yeah, the seam is so nicely filled in. Well, I'm gonna try to force the issue here, I guess. What needs to happen is that this piece here needs to move out. It needs to be this this needs to rotate that way so that this edge here, right there, is in line with that edge there. And it's connected along the top here. That's the thing that needs to, that's where it needs to give, but it's actually moving. It's actually moving. I mean, if it cracks along the top, that's really not a problem. I mean, it really isn't a problem. fact, it might be a good thing if this seam up here were to break, because I can re-cement all of this and just sand it. Um, I would just soon not have to do that. Yeah, it's all separated back here, not in the front. Well, this is possible. If I keep poking at it, eventually something will give, for better or worse. It's starting to give out. See, it's starting to break along the cement seam there. That's kind of what I wanted to do. Is I wanted to give up. There we go. I wanted to give up on its weld. That's how it's supposed to. This is much closer to where it's supposed to be, like that. What I may end up doing, if I can get this right up to where it's supposed to be, is I might just say, I'm just going to use, I might put a little bit of cement on there, on that contact point again. But that's really close to where it's supposed to be. There. I can fill in a gap up on the top if there's a gap. But if there's this problem down at the bottom, then the appearance of the part just fails. And this goes on like that. It still has practically no. Oh, okay. It's like that on the picture as well. That's how it goes. There's a little notch there that lines up there. Okay. So that's pretty good. If I can get it to stay like this. What am I doing on time? Is it almost noon? Yeah. Okay. Well, let me mess with the other one and see how close I am. I need to do the same thing. I need to separate it there. And then this one has to come out a long way. This one's really not good. But I've learned something, and what I've learned will help me when I do the display engine, the one that will be outside the plane. When I do that, I will not make the same mistake. As I'm doing this, the paint on the firewall. This piece here, that big oddly shaped thing, it needs to be painted on the other side. That paint will be drying enough so that I can paint the other side. Yeah, this one is very badly misaligned. So this will be the same sort of thing. I'm going to just keep prying at it and break the seam up along the top there. And that one just broke right off, which is fine. It needs to break off quite a bit, actually. As I try to rotate this that way. Let's see what happens when I put this together now. Still, this one's pretty close. Of course, it started being pretty close to where it needed to be compared to the other one. This one's closer, but it's still, this one's off by about as much as the other one started being off. Okay, well, I managed to break the alignment pin. Just broke that off completely. Well, it's better. See, the gap is much smaller than it used to be. See if I can hold it in place and mess around with that to grill the I know here. I remember reading about this, using tape to hold pieces in place, test fitting them in a How to Make Models Good book. It's not what it was really called. I just call it that. But the point of it was how to make your models not suck. And kind of what I go for is what I'm kind of going for is having my models not suck. They might not be beautiful or perfect or A plus or anything like that, but you know, they're not terrible. So yeah, and how to hold on to things, how to hold on to things while doing this. So this has to go on here. This needs to be arranged so that the plastic, gray plastic, is right around the outside edges of this grill-like thing, which is supposed to be lined up like that. And that goes on there really nicely if, in fact, this is like this. It needs to be, it needs to be just right. So when I cement this together on the bottom, those two parts, when those get cemented together, it needs to be just like this. Just like that. Okay. Not any different than that, but just like that. And then it will look okay. There's not much tolerance there for misalignment. So if I could, and it's possible, I probably could. If I could cement that seam right now while I'm holding it like this, so everything was perfectly aligned. Boy, when I do the display engine, okay, here's a conundrum. I'm not quite sure how that's going to go. It would be really nice, since I've got the parts actually for this. I don't know if this shows, I don't know how much this shows from the outside when the whole thing is put together. I'm thinking that there's an opening. See, there's this air intake here. It'd be nice if I could do that on the display one, but I've only got two of these. It looks like it shows, like when the pylons come across that it covers most of this up, but that grill shows. So the color will cover some of it. Yeah, see, if you look under here on this picture, see, that's this right there. That's that. So even though the rest of this, the carrier part, is covered up, that this particular piece isn't. What I'm I could buy it. I could buy another set of these. Um, pay another bunch of money for some extras. But the thing is, when I was thinking of having a display engine, I didn't think I had the parts. I didn't think I had these parts, but I do. It came with the extra parts I bought for the display engine. So I've actually got this, and these brackets. I've got those, and I've got this pipe, okay, which goes on this, which would be nice. I have a firewall, but I don't have the tank, but that's okay. I'm not going to use that. That's where it all attaches. But this is all kind of part of it. Um, but I need another one of these. I wonder if I need a propeller shaft, a G11. Okay, well, now I know what I'm into anyway, and I know it's possible. And what probably would be a good thing to do would be to, I'm not going to do that though. I was thinking maybe of actually cementing this together, but I'm not going to. What I'm going to do is worry about getting these things cemented together, to be reattached in a place where they're supposed to be. And then I can worry about the seams up here after that. But I need to hold it like this and get cement across that seam and just keep holding it. And then worry about this up here afterwards, because this is the location and connection part. That's the most important. Um, well, maybe I'll just do that. I'm going to be sitting here for like 3 minutes, holding this part. Look, see, I got paint on there. I don't know how I did that. Holding this part like that, hurting my fingers until the model cement grips enough. It's kind of like no way around it. That needs to be done on both sides. So I'm just going to try to do that. Whatever it is, it'll be better than it was. That's a frequent thing on this stream. Is I don't know how it's going to turn out, but whatever it is, it'll be better than it was. So I might just splurge another too much money. I might just splurge another too much money to get um, an extra photo etched art. I might just do that. Yeah, I need to hold this for way too long, like 3 minutes before there's even any chance really it's going to grip. But it needs to be done. And then when I put this together for the other engine and for the display engine, I will know I will know better because I will have failed here this first time, and then I won't have to be hurting my fingers holding these parts in place like this. I need to count to like 180 at least, to 35. It really is uncomfortable. I wonder if there's any other way of clamping this. It doesn't really seem to be. I'm just trying to get them so it's not horribly uncomfortable, but it's not happening. Now I need to just not move it. I just need to put up with it. Start over. Shall we count together? 20, 21. 26, 27, 28, 9. Can you count with me? 31, 28, 39, 50, 51, 52. This is boring. 6, 7, 9, 3, 4, 7, 68, 9, 70, 1, 2. Then I'll get to 180 and let it go and it'll pull apart. Yeah. I could maybe I could have used C8 now because I didn't have it positioned right when they touch together and that grabs right away. I could have used epoxy, but sometimes the epoxy doesn't hold on this plastic at all. 92, 93. I'm about halfway through. Damn it. Sorry. I just lost my G rating there. I'm down to PG-13 now. No, I'm not going to count out loud. I'm just going to be in silence. You can just listen to the white noise of the furnace fan working. Well, it's the air handler. It's not really the furnace. It's the air handler on the furnace that is moving cool air through the house because it's at 90 degrees out. I know you in Europe just had a horrible, horrible heat wave, and in Spain, there's a terrible wildfire going that's killed at least 11 or 12 people, and a bunch are missing. I think almost 30 or 40 people have either been killed or are missing and might be. I was reading about that this morning. Just hey, let get up and read about bad news. Why not, right? And it turns out that most of the people who were killed in the wildfire in Spain, and this they said it was true of last year as well, of the wildfires in Europe, were in their cars. And instead of, following instructions of either sheltering in place or using prescribed evacuation routes, they just got in their cars and started driving and managed to drive into the fire. And was, it was just deadly and just a really horrible thing. But yeah, I mean, it's really, really bad what's happening there. We have those here too, of course, in the States. Usually, in California is the place where it happens most. Um, I wonder if this would work. See, it needs to be lined up. I can get it aligned and then clamp it. That's what I'm hoping to do. Because it's maybe I can just jam something in there. Ah, no, no. But this worked. It worked until it didn't. Well, it's certainly easier than holding it. I'm still holding it, but I'm not holding it like I was. I'll just let this go another little bit. But if I could get that in there and have it stay. There. Okay, it is. It's okay. It's a mess up here now. Okay, but I'll deal with that after this sets. Oop, nice. This gives me a little more control. Just trying to find just the right thing to hold it in place. And then I can stop messing with it. How about this one? How is this going to go? This one just needs to be filled in. A little bit of cement along there. Did that dry up already? This one actually doesn't need anything. I mean, it's not moving. I'm just not gonna play with it. The gap there is really small. Okay, well, the situation here is that it's not lined up perfectly, but it's really close. And I just need to worry about the top there. I could probably sand that today. I think I might. I've got some painting yet to do on the thing there, but and then I'm going to go back and check the other one. See how that's doing, whether it's staying where it should be or not. Yeah, it pretty much is. So if I push these together now, um, yeah, actually that's not bad. Okay, when I put them together like that now, it's it's actually pretty decent. I just need to let these set. This one, I think what I'm going to do, not always the best way to do this, but maybe I won't. I'll wait for this to set and then see. Yeah, see, I can close that. Yeah, here I'm going to do that. Put a little bit of cement along here. Now I can take this. Just that's a little too much. I need to go in the gap, but not across the top. And I'm going to use a clothespin. I'm going to squeeze that shut. And that will turn out to be much better than it was before. It won't be perfect, but it'll be pretty good. It'll be definitely in the adequate range. So what you saw today was yeah, fixing things that was just wrong. I just got it wrong. And no, it's not wrong. It's okay. Not great, but it's okay. The parts were misaligned because I was looking at one part of it, but not all of it. And sometimes that's the way of test fitting stuff. But now I've got to worry about the photo etched part. I have to worry about maybe buying another photo etched set so that for my display engine, because this part, the photo etched grill, does show from the outside once the model is assembled, and that poses an aesthetic problem. I didn't know there was going to be a problem, but now I do know there's a problem. I didn't know there was going to be a problem because I thought that I wouldn't have those cowlings onto which the photo etch part goes. I didn't think I would have those when I bought the extra parts. I bought this as the extra parts for the engine, and almost everything's on here. And it turns out um, that this is here. But what I don't have, dang, 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 I don't have those, and those are what I really want. I mean, this is all fine. That's fine. It's nice to have, but I really wanted those brackets, and I thought I had them. So I've got this, and that's nice to have, and these because that goes along the bottom. And it's nice to have this, and these pipes go onto that, and the engine sets in there. But it'd be really nice to have those brackets. I wonder, and those don't show, but they're important because there's that's what holds the engine onto the firewall. I wonder if I can get away with maybe I'm going to ask Lexi to fabricate those. These don't matter. These I'm just going to see what I need for the engine that gets covered up, not the display engine. There's a bunch of these parts because I need the parts that don't show. that I can just use. And actually, the only thing that shows is this here, the propeller shaft, okay, and this and the grill. But the problem is that this whole engine, even if I don't have the all of the parts to it, even if I don't have all the parts, okay, still needs these brackets to hold it onto the firewall. And that's important because the firewall is what holds it in. Well, maybe not. The pods, what I'm thinking about are the pods on the sides. And I'll find this out as I keep building it. But when this is installed into the pods, if the engine is not attached with the brackets to the firewall, these fit here, the pods attach to the, it's almost like the whole engine doesn't even need to be there. Okay, what I'm going to do is they don't need to be perfect. Okay? They don't have to really be great, but they need to attach to the engine. And I'm just, I saw these parts and I thought, oh, I've got all these things that I didn't know I had. How cool, I'll be able to do that. But I don't have the side brackets. These things are really, you know, and I need those for the display engine to look like that. But for the engine that's attached inside the pod, they don't need to look like that. They don't even need to look very good. They just need to have the attachment points. I'm going to ask her if she can just make these or something similar. Okay. Here, I'm going to put this in here so it doesn't get lost. I'm going to put this in here so it doesn't get lost or broken. And this needs 2 coats of paint. So I'm going to get it. I'm going to get the paint on there quickly. I'm going to get it on there now so I can get a second coat on there yet today, I think, hopefully. Sorry for all the talking out loud, but I had parts that didn't work, that didn't fit. Well, I put them together and I didn't put them together right. I didn't put them together well. And then I'm thinking ahead to the display engine, the one that will be on the outside visible. And I'm just missing a couple of critical parts. Um, I think they're going to be important, not so much. Well, they don't have to be perfect for the engine that's hidden. The photo etched part, that's, probably end up. I should have just bought a second model kit. I really should have. It's looking like it would have been less expensive than buying the little parts. Maybe I can just buy a photo etch set. Maybe there's a place that's just selling the photo etched parts for this particular model. That would be the best thing. Did this not get primed? I'm sure it did. It's acting like it didn't get primed. I don't think it did. I think I failed to turn it over and prime it. That paint isn't going to adhere. It's just going to rub right off. Okay, well that was stupid. No, I I really think that it didn't get primed. No, it didn't. I mean, look at that. It's not, and the paint's not adhering. It's just the raw plastic. Oh my, that was a serious. I don't know how that happened. Dumb, dumb, dumb. That was dumb, dumb, dumb. Okay, I'm gonna have to prime that, and then it's gonna have to wait till a week from Monday to get painted. It's not. I mean, it's okay. It can wait. The only thing that gets attached to it is this until everything else is put together. Okay, so what can I do now? Um, Half hour left. Let me first of all talk about Dice and Dungeons, which is all about our Dungeons and Dragons show, which is an amazing show, and you need to watch it because it is really good. It's not just a basement, game. It's not just that. It is in fact a show, and it's really well produced and edited and acted. We stay in character really well. Our DM is extremely creative and is an excellent voice actor. She's really good at that. So there's a whole sprinkling of all sorts of NPCs that we encounter that take on a life. Really, you know, they're really cool. I just have to say that it's just really cool. Um, and you need to watch that. And I'll invite you to do that by going to our YouTube channel. What is this? Did I not? Okay. This is this is this is the end of the stream. Things aren't working. It looks like I missed. Tried to get this and I didn't. Um, yeah, I missed the whole side of this. Nice. I'm just gonna clip it. There isn't any choice. I need to do this. Well, I knew that that could be an issue, and it turned out to be an issue. And I'll have to touch up that spot some other time if I remember it and if I notice it. So remind me to put a second coat on this little piece um, before the stream ends. But watch our Dungeons and Dragons show. It's really amazing. And I'll just keep reminding everybody that this stream has started because we produce our own dungeon tiles and minifigs, and I would paint them. And our DM said, "Go ahead and let's stream your painting." And I said, "Well, I'm painting anyway, so if you want to turn a camera on, that would be fine." And initially, there was music, okay, and so I didn't really need to talk very much. But now I just talk about the. I can't believe I did the priming and didn't prime one half of this whole piece. Just yeah, there's no paint on that. Wow. Just Okay. So there was a mistake in the assembly of certain parts. And then there was an epic fail in terms of not getting the priming done on a big piece of plastic. All I needed to do was turn it over, and I didn't. Mm, that was just that was just not good. These parts need to dry. I'm just going to let them hang there. This part, I'm just going to remove from the cardboard because I'm going to have to take the cardboard up to prime it. And I'm just going to set this on top of that for now. I need to remember to paint, put a second coat on this little pipe. I'm trying to remind myself of what I need to do. What I need to do is see whether I can get Alexis to 3D print some parts. You can't see anything I'm talking about. Nice. See if I can get some of these 3D printed. Because if I can, then the display engine will look way better. It'll have the brackets that hold it to the firewall. Once it's installed, it'll have those. Okay. And the engine that'll be mounted inside the model will have facsimiles of those, but they don't show, so it doesn't much matter. Okay. And I need a propeller shaft, either printed, 3D printed, or just it's this kind of part, either 3D printed or just um, fabricated out of sprue, a piece of cylindrical sprue. Probably I could do that. I can just probably make one. But these brackets, I wasn't thinking that I'd be able to put those on the display engine. I thought the display engine would just be this, okay, like that. But now it looks like I've got these parts and this part extra. I've got extras of those, and those are, especially these are parts that need to be there in order to, because the front of it shows. Okay, but to have the display engine be able to be set, to have the mounting brackets on it, and to be able to set into the kind of carrier with the pipes behind it, it would complete the display. It would just look better if I could do that. And then it would just end. I don't need the firewall because that's built into the plane. And when a new engine is taken, when an old one's taken out, it's separated from there, okay, including these brackets, because these are attached to the engine. Okay, it's separated from there. But I would have all of this. But I need one of these, and I need those. So I think, just to do it, just to try to make this, to have the display engine because of, the detail on it and all. I think it's worth trying. And I think it's worth trying to pull that off. And like I said, these are pretty well detailed. So they're going to need to be, they're going to need, I'm going to need the originals for the display engine. But for the inside of the model, all I need that and these points back here and these little spots here and here so that I can get the engine mounted into the model. There's a lot of time to do that, but that's what I'll be looking at. And again, um, if I get some 3D printed ones, look at that. See, for the display model, I would need to fix that. There's molding seams, pretty significant ones. That for the display engine, it would be that would be unacceptable. For the one that's put into the model, that's not a problem. A lot of this is almost all of this is never going to be seen again once the model is assembled. But it's like building a practice engine for the one that will be displayed alongside the model. That's what I'm telling myself. But if I'm going to pull that off, and I don't have to, I was originally not planning on it. I was originally just planning on having the engine, and the extra little parts like the oil pan and the oil filter, I think. I was just planning on that. This up here, step one, and this available for display. And I've got the extra parts for the engine block and stuff like that for the one that's going to get covered up. But then I said, oh, I've got these and I've got that. Maybe I can do the cradle too, but I need those brackets. And they don't need to be beautiful. They don't need to be highly detailed. They just need to be just need to have the attachment points. I'll look online and see, but I'll also need the photo etched part, and if I can get that without having to spend a huge amount of money, I think I'll go ahead and do that. I mean, if worse comes to worse, I can just like put something together out of wood or plastic or like screw parts or something. Um, I missed a spot. Yeah, I'm just muttering to myself about how I'm gonna make this work. I really would like to do that. But what I should have done is I should have just bought another model. And then, like, the person who sold me the extra parts is put them up on eBay and try to get some of my money back from the extra cost of the model. But I didn't. I didn't do that. Well, just to remind everybody, I'm going to be away next week, so I won't be streaming. I'll be back on the 20th, picking up where I left off here, which is here, talking about needing to prime that, which I need to do now. I'll take this out of here like that. Need that here. And then I'll let you know on the 20th whether I'm going to go ahead and try to get the photo etched part, or yeah, because it does show from the front of the model when it's assembled. This is one of the very few little bits of all of this that you're going to actually ever be able to see. Um, hmm, yeah, well, there it is. Choices. So I'm either going to abandon um, having the cradle and the brackets attached to the display engine. I'll either abandon that idea, or I will get the photo etched parts, spare some extras of those, and then try to fabricate, not so that it looks like this, but so that it has the same effect as this, of attaching this to the firewall so that the thing can be assembled. See, what would be nice, but it isn't the case, is if this part that goes underneath the engine, it would be really nice if that attached to the firewall, and I wouldn't have to worry about it. But the only thing that attaches to the firewall and holds all of this together are these brackets on the side. which I thought I might have had, but I don't have them. So, such as it is. And now I need to prime this because for some reason I failed. I failed to do that. Wow. Okay. So there. I'm going to wrap up a little bit early here today because I don't have anything more I can really do other than probably hurt something. I'll be back on Monday, and what I'll be doing on Monday is probably be I can probably do the assembly um, of this. I can do this part here. I can get these parts attached to the engine, including the brackets, because I've got these elsewhere that can be replicated, and I'll sand down the seams of this holder thing and attach them so that the photo etched part is correctly attached. And then I will paint this. Actually, I can even do that some other. What's the front and the back? How can you even tell? You can't. It's just, what is up with that? Probably attach it to this side. It's reversible. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna put stuff together. Okay, including these things, because this engine will be complete. The other side will be missing a lot of this stuff. It won't have it because I'm going to put it on the display engine, so that it won't have that all of the detail, but it's covered up. Um, and then I'll have to make a decision about whether I'm going to try to put get extras of these parts somehow. Okay, well, enough of that. Enough babbling. I'm going to wrap up for today. I will see you a week from Monday. So you all have a good weekend this weekend and a good weekend next weekend for those of you who have weekends on Saturday and Sunday. For those of you whose are your days off of work are different, I hope those go as well. Stay safe. There's a lot of hot weather out there in the States, United States. There's been a lot of thunderstorms and tornadoes and dangerous weather. In Europe, there's fires, there's wars, and it's kind of rough out there, isn't it? But stay safe, and I will see you a week from Monday. Oh, watch our Dungeons and Dragons show. Watch it on YouTube. Listen to it as a podcast. Become a follower. Become a subscriber. Go to Patreon, patreon.com/Dyson Dungeons to become a patron. Do all of that. Support Dyson Dungeons. It's worthwhile. We just put on a really good show. Check it out. See ya.